Today, we're going to start discussing financial planning. There are two types of financial planning. Generally, we have the short term and the long term. We will first discuss the long term, and this involves the management of long-term assets like property, plant, and equipment. But we're not really going to look at management of such. We're going to discuss more on capital budgeting, which is how do we determine if an investment on long-term assets, let's say an equipment, real estate, for example, assets that are used in the operations of the business, and its term is long-term. It will be used for a longer period of time, more than 1 year. Investments like that are called capital expenditures. So the question is, how do we decide whether a particular project is feasible or not? We have studied this in partially before, and we said we use capital budgeting techniques. We use metrics like NPV, IRR. Okay, these were the two measures that we learned before. So today we're going to expand this. And in order to determine if a project is feasible or not, we have to know the cash flows. Okay, but we're not going to learn how to estimate the cash flows of a particular project. This will be, if you take financial management later on in college, chances are you'll be studying how do we compute, how do we estimate these cash flows. Because in order to ascertain if a project is feasible or not, we have to know the cash flows. So these are cash flows. Okay, take note, they are not net income, they're not net profit, they are cash flows. And this is very consistent with the principle of cash is king. Okay, so when we evaluate projects, we don't evaluate the profit, we evaluate the cash flows. How do we compute for the cash flows? Well, we estimate the income statement. So we have the sales, all the expenses, and then add back depreciation or non-cash expenses to generate the cash flows. Okay, so we still need to construct the income statement in order to determine the cash flow statement, the cash flows of the project. So we have here the summary already of the estimation of the cash flows using your income, using the income statement, the estimated income statement. So we have two projects here, Project Y and Project Z. The initial investment of Project Y is 1.2 million, while it's 1.8 million for Project Z. And you have their corresponding cash flows. Now, we'd like to determine which of the following which of the project is better or is feasible. So it will depend on the nature of the projects that we have. Okay, projects can either be, it can be independent, or they can be mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive. So what's the difference between the two? When projects are independent, then the choice of one does not affect the other. So you can choose both projects, Y and Z, okay, when they're independent. As I mentioned a while ago, the choice of a project will not affect the decision to choose the other one because they're independent. On the other hand, if they're mutually exclusive, the choice of one excludes the other. So that means isa lang yung option natin. For example, between Project Y and Project Z, if we were limited to just one option, then for example, it's choosing the location of the new branch. Let's say it's do we open in Manila or do we open in Makati? Okay, when that's the choice, it's a mutually exclusive project. If you only have one branch to open, then we either choose between Manila or Makati. So that's what we call a mutually exclusive project. But if we can open several branches, and it doesn't matter when you open in Makati. It doesn't matter if the choice of Makati will also impact the choice of Manila, then you have independent projects. In this problem, we're going to look at this as mutually exclusive projects, which means that we have to just choose one, either project Y or project Z. Now, the most important metric is what we call the NPV. So we have learned this, what NPV is. It's the summation of your cash flows, okay? Summation of your cash flows from T is equal to 1 up to N, okay? And then here you have the discounted cash flow, right? It's a cash flow divided by the discount rate, okay, which we use, where we use the WACC. And then we subtract the initial investment, okay? So we can actually we could have just written T is equal to 0 to T is equal to N. That would have been fine also. Anyway, the initial investment is also a cash flow. Okay, so, but this was just to tell us that we have to subtract the initial investment. Okay, sorry, we couldn't use that formula, okay, because we have to subtract the initial investment, unless, guys, the initial cash flow is stated as a negative number. Okay, all right, so let's do this, guys. This is the formula for the net present value. Then the question is, which is the better project? Is it project Y or project Z? So let's give this a name first, so that it's we can easily access this, the WACC. Let's give this the name WACC. Okay, I'm giving B20 a name. I'm calling it WACC, so that we can use the name WACC in our formulas. Okay, so let's compute for the net present value of project Y. We can do this in two ways. We can convert all the cash flows into present values. And after we have converted them into present values, we can add them, okay? Or we can just get the net present value using the NPV function of Excel. So let's do this. Okay, so this will be equal to negative PV. Okay, the rate will be, we can access the WACC, okay, comma. And per will be the individual number of periods. PMT, we don't have annuity. This is not an annuity. We're looking at the present value of each of these individual cash flows. FV is this amount. Type ignore, okay? Type ignore because this is not an annuity. Okay, so that will be our formula for PV. And then copy to the right. So we can see here that the present value of 420 pesos, its present value of 420 pesos after 1 year is 373,002, assuming that the rate of return is 12.6%. 380,000 in 5 years' time will be equivalent to 209,938. Okay, so since these are all present values already, we can just sum them up. Okay, we can add them. Let me format this a bit. Okay, so the net present value is 159,000. And we say that this project Y, is feasible because the net present value is greater than 0. It's positive. And we know, guys, the NPV function, the shortcut, the rate is your WACC. Okay, just take note that the values will start with the future cash flows, and then we add the present value of the most current value, the value of time 0. Okay, so we get the same answer, okay? So either we use the longer way to compute for the net present value by converting all the cash flows into their present values and adding them up, or use the shortcut, the NPV function. But just be aware, guys, of the nuances of the NPV function. We will have to highlight the future cash flows, then add back the initial cash flow. Okay, please chat, guys, if you got the value for the NPV using the long way or the function. I'll wait for your chat, please. NPV function, yan. Okay, if you're done, guys, if you're able to compute for the NPV in 2 ways, kindly chat, please. Kindly chat yes, so that I know if I may continue already. Okay, how about the rest, guys? Thank you, Christian. Isa pa lang, guys, yung nag-chat. How about the rest? Kindly chat, please, if you are able to do it, or if you have questions, please chat or unmute yourself. A few more seconds, guys. Okay, thank you. Okay, yung iba. If you're done, guys, kindly also do the same for project Z. I'm still waiting for the others to chat, guys, kung nagawa nyo na yung NPV for project Y. I'm hoping, guys, that we have more responses and faster responses kasi mahaba pa to, guys, yung natin. I-discuss natin. So kung matagal masyado yung dead time natin, baka hindi natin matapos yung coverage. No? Okay, thank you. So far, only 6, 7. Yeah, okay, good. Good. I hope I have more responses, guys. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Sige. So, we do the same, guys, for Project Z. No? Ganun lang din naman. No? Ang gagawin natin sa Project Z, we will solve for the net present value by first getting the PV. So, PV function. The rate is your WACC. We can just write the WACC. Tab. NPR is this, comma. PMT, no PMT. Future value is our amount. And then ignore the type because this is not annuity. Control Enter. And then copy to the right. And then we can sum this up. Sum. And also the NPV function. NPV rate is your WACC, comma. Values will be the original values. Okay. And then we add the initial investment. Okay. Paki-chat nga, guys, please, kung na-solve si Z. I hope we get more responses, please, and quicker responses so that we're able to cover more materials today. Okay, good. All right. So what can we say about our projects, Project Y and Project Z? If these were independent projects, sino pipili natin? Kindly chat, please, the answer to that question. If these two projects, Y and Z, were independent, which among them are we going to choose? Kindly chat, please, your answer. Kung independent sila, si Y at saka si Z, sino pipiliin natin? Si Y o si Z? I would appreciate any response, guys, sa chat box, or unmute yourself if you want to answer this verbally. Kung independent si Y at saka si Z, okay, sino yung pipiliin natin? Okay, one pa lang nag-answer. Theo. Okay. Theo, bakit both?
Hello, sir.
Bakit both?
I think po, sir, assuming na may like capital to like invest in both. I think sabi nyo kanina, independent, pwedeng parehas. Since
Yes.
positive naman NPV nila,
Yeah.
means it would generate a profit. So, kaya parehas na lang.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yes, Theo is correct, no? Tama, both, no? Kasi independent yan eh, no? Eh pareho naman positive yung NPV nila. Okay? Magkakaroon lang tayo ng possibility na isa lang piliin natin yan kung independent tayo if there are budgetary constraints. Let's suppose that the budget that we have is only 2 million. Okay? Kung 2 million lang, guys, edi hindi natin magagawa pareho, no? Kasi 3 million yung kailangan para sa dalawa eh. In that case, pipiliin natin si Project Z kasi mas mataas yung NPV niya. Okay? But if they're independent and there are no budgetary constraints, then both projects should be okay. because both projects have the same, have NPVs that are positive. Now, if they're mutually exclusive, then the choice is definitely project Z. Kung mutually exclusive sila, ha? Kasi pag mutually exclusive, guys, it means that we only get to choose one. Okay, the choice of one excludes the other. So in this instance, NPV of Z is 244, higher than 159 of project Y, then we choose project Z. Okay? All right, now we have a problem with that. Kasi ang project Z natin, ang initial investment 1.8, si project Y 1.2. Natural, it might follow that maybe this is a bigger machine. No? Maybe this is a let's say nag-invest sa, let's say, panibagong, let's say, open a new branch, mas malaking branch na yon, mas nasa prime place kasi mas mahal siguro yung let's say yung pag-set up ng branch na yon. So chances are pag mas nasa premium na location, chances are there will be more customers coming in, so mas malaki yung possibly yung cash flow na ma-generate kasi mas malaki initial investment. So we cannot really compare apples with oranges kasi mas maliit yung investment na to eh. So what's one way of determining which is the better project? Okay, we can do that by sort of standardizing the investment. So we come to this next measure, which is the profitability index. The profitability index, as the name suggests, tingnan natin to, it discounts the cash flows, okay, from year 1 up to year end, ito yung future values, ano? And then i-divide natin ang initial investment. So kunin natin yung present values ng lahat ng future cash flows divided by the present value of the initial investment. Anyway, initial investment is the value of that is also the present value kasi times 0 yan. Okay? So ang ginagawa natin dito, kinukuha natin yung parang it's the NPV per initial investment. Okay? So we're pegging the both projects. We're dividing everything by the initial investment so that ang denominator natin magiging 1 sa pareho. So comparable na siya. Okay, so let's get the profitability index by getting the PV of the inflows. Okay, we can just add for project Y, we can just add this, no? Itong cash flow natin from year 1, or we can also use the NPV function. Okay, gawin na natin NPV function, WACC, rate is WACC, and then our values natin will just be the original values natin from year 1 up to year 5. So this will get the discounted cash flow, no? The sum of your cash flows. Okay. If we check this, guys, we can just sum up the present values. This one of project Y. Okay, kinuha ko lang yung present values niya. And they're the same, no? Exactly the same. We have shown this before, so I will not elaborate on that since you know that already. Okay, so kinuha natin yung sum ng present values, no? From year 1 up to year 5. And then kunin natin, guys, yung initial investment. I'll put a negative sign here. Okay, initial investment is 1, 2. Okay. And then, kukunin natin profitability index, which is just the ratio. Color code ko nga pala ito. Yung project Z, ginawa kong light blue para kita natin. Okay, the same for project Z is equal to NPV. Let's use our WACC. Then our future cash flows is from 450 to 900. 900. Okay. And then we get the initial investment of 1/8. Ginawa kong positive na lang siya. And then we get the ratio of this. Okay, I'll pause for a while, guys, and then I'll request you to reply in the chat box if you have computed for the profitability index for Project Y and Project Z. Okay, I hope to have more responses, guys, from you. Okay, good. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Pauline. How about the rest, guys? Sana nakasunod yung iba. Pakichat na lang if you got the answer. 1.133 and 1.136. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so thank you for your responses, guys. A few more seconds. Okay, sige, good. All right, so based on this, guys, profitability index, we can now come up with a decision as to whether a Project Y or Project Z is better, despite the fact that they have different initial investments. So considering the initial investment, we can say that Project Z is better because it has the higher profitability index. Okay, here we're just basing it on NPV, and there should be no problem, guys, if the initial investment for both projects are the same. Okay lang yun, wala tayong problema doon kasi pareho naman yung initial investment natin. Pero dito kasi, sabi natin 1.2 million kay Y, 1.8 million kay Z. Parang hindi tama yata na na sabihin natin na mas maganda si Z kasi mas malaki yung net present value niya. Kita naman natin na mas malaki yung initial investment kay Z. Therefore, the probability for it to get a higher cash inflows will be apparent, no? Kasi mas malaki yung ininvest natin. Okay, so in order to put both projects on equal footing, we're going to compute for the profitability index, and it tells us that the profitability index for Project Z is higher than for Project Y. So, consistent with the option to choose with the choice based on NPV, no? So, of course, sometimes, guys, hindi pwede maging Project Y yan. So, if we're so management will have to decide kung anong mas pipiliin. So, si Y o si Z. If the profitability index of Project Y is greater than Project Z. Okay, kasi ibig sabihin nun, mas malaki yung nakukuha nating present value ng cash inflows natin for every 1 peso of cash outflow. That's what the profitability index measures. Okay, so let's go now to internal rate of return. So far, we have computed for NPV, for profitability index. Now we compute for IRR, which we have already done in the past. Okay, so ano ba yung ginagawa dito? Let's take a look at the formula. If you take a look here, we're again discounting, no? Dinidiscount natin yung mga cash flows natin from future cash flows from year 1 up to year end. Okay, and then ima-minus natin yung initial investment. Ano to, guys? What's this? This is simply your what's this formula, guys? That's your net present value, di ba? Ang kaibahan lang dito sa IRR, ang ginagamit natin na rate of return is IRR. Dito, ang ginagamit natin si WACC. No? When we're computing for NPV, ito, no? Yung K natin dito is the weighted average cost of capital. So it's exactly the same, guys. It's exactly the same. Ang kaibahan dito, instead of the WACC, we use the IRR. And then, we subtract it from the initial investment and make sure that it's equivalent to 0. Okay, so NPV, hindi natin ini-equate sa 0 yan. No? Okay, we don't equate it to 0. Dito sa IRR, to solve for the IRR, we need to make sure that the NPV, which is the sum of this, is equal to 0. Kaya nga sabi natin before that the IRR is that rate of return where your net present value will be equal to 0. Okay, so I hope that's clear, guys. Let's compute now for IRR. Okay, it's equal to, this is pretty straightforward, IRR, then values. Ignore the guess, guys. Naka-bracket siya, ibig sabihin nun, okay, tignan niyo yung IRR, no? Naka-bracket siya, ibig sabihin nun, that's optional, no? Hindi kailangan, pwedeng hindi o pwedeng lagyan ng values. Okay. So it's 18.23. And let's check NPV rate natin. We use the IRR, okay? Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. To compute for the NPV, guys, using IRR, we'll see if the NPV is 0. Okay? NPV ng value, future values plus the current value, enter. So tama nga, 0 nga. 0 nga siya. So the internal rate of return is that return where the NPV is equal to 0. That's how we compute for the IRR. Magsa-substitute tayo ng mga values dito kasi alam naman natin yung mga cash flows, alam natin yung initial investment, then we subtract this and pwede natin i-goal seek yan, sabi kay Excel, hanapin nga niya yung IRR so that the difference between these two is equal to 0. So now let's compute for the IRR of Project Z. IRR din to. IRR of Z is 17.39. Okay. Oops. Okay, and then let's check the net present value. Our rate is this one, okay, comma, cash flows dito, plus the initial. Okay. Okay, so it's also 0, no? So we have proven, guys, that the NPV at IRR is equal to 0. Okay, so based on IRR, guys, paki-chat, which project should we invest in? Kindly chat, please, guys. Based on IRR, sino mas maganda project? Okay, more responses, please. Isa pa lang. Come on, guys. Very straightforward yung question na yan. Based on IRR, sinong project ang susundin natin? Assuming these are mutually exclusive projects, the project we're going to choose is, okay, I hope more responses, guys. We have barely reached less than 20% pa lang tayo. More responses, please, guys. Only 5? Only 5 members lang ba yung class na to? Six. Masyadong mababa yung ano natin, guys, response rate. No? Only 6 responses. How about the rest, guys? Kindly make sure that you also computed for your IRR and NPV. And then my question is, based on IRR, sinong pipili natin na project? 6 of you have responded. How about the rest? Okay, where are the 19, 18 souls in this class? Okay. All right, thank you so much. Okay, you're correct guys. Why? It's Y, of course. Bakit? Kasi mas mataas yung IRR niya. Okay, mas mataas yung IRR ni Y kaysa kay Z. So, we have a problem here kasi ang sabi ng NPV ni Z 244 kay Y 159. Even using the Profitability Index, it tells us that project Z is the better alternative. However, when we go to IRR, it tells us that project Y is the better alternative. So, okay, I already mentioned this to you before. When there's a conflict between NPV and IRR, we always choose NPV. Okay, this has something to do with the way IRR is computed. The assumption here in IRR is that the rate of return is equal to IRR. So that's the assumption, and this makes it theoretically less sound than the NPV formula, because in the NPV we use the rate of return, we use the WACC as our rate of return. For the IRR, we use IRR itself for the rate of return. Okay, so that makes IRR less theoretically sound compared to NPV. So when there's a conflict between IRR and NPV, always follow NPV. Okay, so next guys, that's why they introduced this concept of MIRR. It's the modified internal rate of return. Okay, it follows this formula. Okay, the MIRR will always be in line or consistent with the NPV. So let's do that. Okay, let's compare IRR and NPV. I'm going to copy the IRR of project Y here. Okay, we just copied it. Okay, and then we can compute for the modified internal rate of return. So there's a function called MIRR. So it returns the internal rate of return of a series of periodic cash flows, considering both cost of investment and interest on reinvestment of cash. Okay, so for MIRR, we're using the WACC in order to compute for the, we're using the WACC for the finance rate and for the reinvestment rate. Okay, so let's do this. The values are, so for project Y, it's this one. Okay, comma. What will be our finance rate? Our finance rate will be our WACC, comma. What will be our reinvestment rate? It will also be WACC. So both, guys, consistent tayo sa paggamit ng ano yung finance rate at saka ano yung reinvestment rate. So dito yung finance rate, yung K dito. Then ano yung reinvestment rate, yung MIRR will be equal to WACC also. Okay, so let's compute for this. We're getting 15.45% for project Y. And if we compute for the NPV, syempre hindi magiging zero yan guys kasi ang ano natin, ang IRR natin is 18.23. So that's the rate where we will have zero NPV. 15.45, this is greater than our WACC, no? Ang WACC natin 12.6. Then we expect the NPV to be also positive. So rate natin 15.45, comma, our values are the future cash flows, and then plus natin si initial investment. Okay. Okay, let me just change the format. Number to decimal places. Okay. So the NPV at MIRR is 74,705. Okay, clear yun, guys? Okay, and then let's compute for Z. I'll give you a few minutes, guys, to compute for Z, MIRR. Copy lang natin yung IRR ni Z dito. And then kindly compute for the MIRR. Okay, so I hope you got these answers, guys. Now take note that the MIRR of Y is 15.45. MIRR ni Z, sorry, this should be Z. Pakipalitan na lang. MIRR ni Z is 15.51. So it turns out, guys, that the modified internal rate of return for project Z is bigger than project Y. Okay, as I said a while ago, magiging consistency MIRR ni consistent yung MIRR with the NPV measure. So according to NPV, mas okay si project Z. According to MIRR, mas profitable si project Z. Okay, pareho sila. Okay, pause muna ako, guys. Any questions? Or paki-chat na lang kung yes, kung clear so far yung MIRR natin. Okay, thank you. All right, very good. Sige. All right, so let's move on, guys. Now, sometimes a company would want to establish a metric or a policy that they will only engage in projects that where their initial investment will be recovered, for example, at half the life of the project. So kunyari 10 years yung project, tapos gusto nila dapat ma-recover nila yung initial investment nila in 5 years time. So that can be a policy, that can be a decision rule. In that case, guys, we will have to compute for what we call the payback period. The payback period is the amount of time the investment will be recovered. So if we take a look at this, so project Y, you have 1.2 million initial investment, and then these are the cash flows, positive cash flows up to 5 years. So we'd like to know how long are we able to recover this 1.2 million. Pagdating natin ng first year, guys, hindi pa kasi 420 pa lang. Pagdating dito sa second year, if we add this to 900, hindi pa natin nare-recover yung investment natin na 1.2. It's only when we come to month 3, kasi if we add this 3, that will be 1220, no? 1.22 million. So this is 900 plus 320, that's 1.22 million. So na-recover na natin yung 1.2. So we say that the payback period for this project Y is 2-point-something years. No? Hindi pa kasi natapos si year 3, na-recover na natin. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to determine how long will it take us to recover that amount. We're going to use a technique, no? I-cumulate kasi natin siya. So we're going to use the sum. Okay, and then sum of the first one. And then if you type colon, guys, tingnan nyo, mauulit yung first one, yung B85. And then let's do a technique here. Okay. I'm going to go to the first one and then mag-F4 tayo. Ang gagawin natin, i-fix natin yung column. Okay? Bakit column? Kasi ikakopy natin yung formula natin along the row to the right, no? So ibig sabihin, hindi naman nagbabago si row 86 eh. So let's not fix yung row 85 sa natin, sa formula natin. Okay, so I'll flash that for a few seconds. So I hope you're following, guys, following along with our worksheet. Okay, and then notice, guys, when I copy this to the right, notice, nagstay lang siya dito sa B85. No? So if we continue on copying this to the right, it will sum up more values. Okay, so ito yung sinasabi natin kanina. If we copy this to the right, okay. So may kulang pa dito na 300. Okay, and then pagdating dito guys, there's the inflection point. Dito, okay, na-recover na natin yung 300. Okay, so in fact 20 na lang, 20 natira, no? Kasi ibig sabihin nun, nag-positive na yung cash flow natin dito. Na-recover na natin 1,200,000. Okay, so in order to compute for sabihin natin approximate number of years, we're going to assume that the cash flow is uniformly generated. Okay, so that's an assumption we'll make so that our, sandali, copy nga natin itong numbers na dito. Control C. Okay. All right, so our payback period will be equal to year 2. It's between year 2 and year 3, no? Kasi dito na nag-positive na yung ano natin. Ibig sabihin na-recover na natin yung 1.2 million. And then we add, okay, how much more cash flow do we need to recover by the end of year 2? Kindly chat, please. How much more cash flow do we need by the end of year 2? Ilan pa yung kailangan natin ma-recover by the end of year 2? Paki-chat please guys, sa chat box natin. Let me repeat my question. By the end of year 2, magkano pa yung kailangan natin ma-recover sa initial investment natin? Okay, thank you, Theo. You're correct, no? It's 300,000. Ito, guys, no? Ito. Okay, 300,000 pa yung kailangan natin ma-recover. And then, how much cash flow are we going to have? Okay, thank you, Roy. You're correct. How much cash flow are we going to have on year 3? Okay, chat, please. How much cash flow are we going to have on year 3? It's there, guys. Nasa ano natin? Nasa cash flow natin. Okay, thank you, Theo. You're correct. 320. Ito, guys. No? So, ang kailangan pa natin 300, no, by the end of year 2. Pagdating ng year 3, we will be getting 320. So, fully recovered na natin yung initial investment natin. So, assuming guys na uniform yung pag-generate ng cash flow natin, we will now get the ratio. No? So, it's negative 300,000 divided by 320. Bakit natin linagyan ng negative, guys? Linagyan natin ng negative kasi negative to no? Pag hindi natin tinagal yung negative dito, okay, magiging negative yung answer natin. So, mababawasan pa yung year 2. If I do this, for example, okay, magiging 1.06, which doesn't make sense, which is wrong. So, I'll put the negative there para to convert it into positive kasi we're just getting the ratio between the 300 and the 320. Okay? So, we have now 2.94 years. So the payback period for project Y is 2.94 years. It will take us to almost 3 years to recover the initial investment of 1.2. So is this good or bad? Okay, wala namang guys, wala namang general rule dyan. Pag nag-positive naman yung net present value, ibig sabihin nun, marirecover naman yung investment when, of course, the earlier the better. So principle yan ng time value of money, no? The earlier, guys, the better. And that will happen if the bigger cash flows are at the initial stages of the investment. Okay, let's do the same for project Z. So this is equal to sum. Again, itong initial natin and then colon. Oops. This one, and then colon. And then I'm going to fix yung column ng there. Okay, Control Enter. And then we copy it to the right. All right, so dito makikita natin sa after year 3, ano? After year 3. So our payback period will be year 3 plus negative 410 ang kailangan pa natin to recover. By the time we get to year 4, 710 na makukuha natin. So, covered na yun. No? And it's 3.58. Okay. So, if we're just strictly just compare Project Y and Project Z, we can say, guys, very loosely, no, that Project Y is better kasi mas mabilis ma-recover. However, I said that's very loosely. No? Kasi naturally then, guys, mas matagal ma-recover si Project Z kasi mas malaki yung initial investment niya. Unless, guys, unless si Project Z mas malalaki yung initial cash flows niya, then there's a chance na mas mababa pa yung payback period niya. So generally, we would want the projects to have a low payback period. Kasi ibig sabihin ng mas mababang payback period, mas mabilis ma-recover yung initial investment. Now, yung payback period, guys, it actually violates the time value of money principle. Kasi ina-add natin, guys, yung future cash flows. Di ba? Technically, guys, hindi natin dapat pwedeng i-add yan. In-add natin sa 420, 480. So another way to do it is what we call the discounted payback period, which is theoretically more correct than the payback period. Yun nga lang, pag discounted period, mas matagal nakukuha yung mas matagal yung payback natin dyan. Kasi what we do is we first get the present value. So let's get the present value first. Bago natin i-add yung mga cash flows, kunin muna natin yung present value. Then whack tayo dito. Nakuha na natin sa taas na, pwede naman natin pwede na natin copyahin yung mga present value sa taas. Pero I'm just doing the formula again. Okay, so here are our present values. And then ito na yung i-add natin is equal to sum. Yan. We're going to add the present values now. F4, there. Drag to the right. Okay. So here, guys, we have our payback period, are discounted. Okay, we call it the discounted payback period because we're going to use the present values. Okay, and not the original cash flows. So it's 4 plus, so this is negative divided by the present value on year 5. Okay, let me pause 325. Okay, pause ko muna, guys. And then kindly chat, guys, kung ano yung payback, discounted payback ni Y. Target natin, guys, abutin natin itong multiple IRRs. Itong crossover, i-record ko na lang yan. Okay? Paki-chat, please. What's your discounted payback period for Project Y? Okay, thank you, Pauline. Let's see. 4.2 ba? Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Pauline. It's 4.2. So yung payback period, guys, for Project Y is 2.94. However, it's 4.2 for the discounted payback. Siyempre, mas mahaba talaga yun kasi we're not using the original cash flows. We're using the present values. Kaya nga ang tawag natin discounted. Diba? Pag discounted, guys, we're getting the present value. Okay, the same, guys, for Project Z. Let's just get the discounted payback period. Rate is your WACC, comma. NPR is okay. No PMT, future value is 1.8. Okay, so these are our present values. Then we can cumulate now our present values, sum, colon, for there. Actually guys, pwede natin copyin yung mga formulas dito, pero ginagawa lang natin ulit for your for more mastery. So this is equal to 4 year 4. Okay, and then plus negative this over this. Okay, kindly chat guys kung ano yung discounted payback period in Project Z. Kindly chat please. What's a discounted payback period for Project Z? Okay, we have an answer. Christian, Pauline, 4.5. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Roy, 4.5. So I think all of you got it? Yeah, 4.5. Yan, very good. So mas mahaba yung discounted payback period ni Project Z compared to Project Y. No? But this tells us that the original cash flows, pag payback period ang gamitin natin, for Project Y, it will be 2.9, kay Project C around 3.6. Okay? So, bawasan lang natin ng decimal place to. Kaso, ayan, 2.9 ito. It doesn't make sense to have 2 decimal places kasi estimate, ano lang naman siya, no? Portion of a year. Okay, let's summarize quickly. In this worksheet, what we learned was to understand the difference between independent projects and mutually exclusive projects. By the way, guys, your quiz on Thursday will cover yung time value of money problems. Pati yung, of course, NPV, IRR, kasi na-discuss natin yun. Hindi kasama yung, yung mga bago dito. No? Yung Profitability Index, Payback Period, that will not be included. Ang kasama lang hanggang dynamic amortization table. Okay, so, and then we learned, guys, that the best metric to decide whether a project is feasible or not is the NPV. If the NPV is positive, then that means that value is being created. Okay, guys, yung project na yun. Now, if they are mutually exclusive projects, pipiliin natin yung mas mataas na NPV. And that's no problem if the initial investments are the same. But if the initial investments are different, then we have to compute the profitability index, no? Para malaman natin kung sino ba yung talagang mas nakaka-generate ng positive cash flows per investment, per unit investment. And then we learned how the formula for the IRR and how it's computed. Okay, and we said that the IRR is that rate of return where the net present value is 0 for as long as the IRR is greater than the WACC, 12.6 kasing WACC natin. So for these projects, okay sila pareho. Kaso it turns out that project Y is better, no? Kasi mas mataas yung IRR niya. And this conflicts with the NPV. So sabi natin, in cases like this, we choose the NPV because of a better theoretical construct. Ito kasi, dinidivide natin ng IRR, dinidiscount natin at IRR. While NPV, we discount at the required return, which is the correct way to do it. No? So we said that there's another way to compute rates of return, and it's the modified. So si modified, guys, mas tama ito compared to IRR, and it's more consistent with NPV. And lastly, we took a look at the payback period, guys, whether it's a payback or the discounted payback. Ang difference nila, guys, payback period will always be lower than discounted. Kasi ang ginagamit natin dito, yung original na cash flow, while on the other hand, for discounted, we use the present values. So naturally, guys, since the present values will be lower, then the payback period will be higher. Okay? So kapag positive yung NPV, guys, it will always be, yung payback, of course, will always be less than the Well, yeah, less than the life of the project. Okay. So, any questions dito sa worksheet na to? Okay, medyo press na tayo for time, guys, kasi dapat itong dalawang tumatapos natin. Okay, so let's go here, unequal lives. Okay, so ito naman, guys, ang problem natin dito. Okay, we have 4 projects. We want to know which of these projects is really the best performer. Ang problem kasi natin, magkakaiba yung terms nila, yung life nila, no? So let's first compute for the NPV. Let's use the NPV function. The rates are the one above, so nasa taas siya. Comma, remember values natin, future. Then isama na lang natin, guys, yung hanggang 8, no? Para ma-drag natin yung formula, para masama natin si D. Okay lang naman na isama natin dito si 7 and 8 kasi 0 naman siya. And remember, the present value of a 0 is 0. So hindi makaka-affect kung isama natin to sa NPV. And then we add the initial investment found here in row 8. Okay, so by now, guys, medyo kabisado na yung NPV, ano? I'll copy the formula to the right and check dito, guys, check. Okay, so we're okay. So based on this, project D is the best project because it has the highest NPV. However, merong ano tayo dito, let's say, merong issue dito kasi si project D, mas mahaba yung term niya. Si project C naman and B, si B ang pinakamaiksi. No? Okay, so we will have to find a way in order to compare these projects correctly. Kasi hindi natin pwedeng masabi na si D mas maganda kasi may imbalance tayo dun sa number of years. So how do we go about this? Ang gagawin natin, guys, is standardize natin yung comparison natin. Okay, this is what we're going to do. 3, for example, 4, 5. Okay. So since magkakaiba yung yung life ng projects, no? May 4 years, si project B 4 years lang siya, si project C 5 years, si project A 6 years, si project B 8 years. Again, hindi natin masasabi mas maganda si project D because it has the higher NPV kasi magkakaiba yung terms nila, no? So there has to be a way in order to compare them fairly. So the way to do that is to compute for the annualized NPV. So alam natin NPV, ang kailangan natin makompute yung annualized NPV. So how do we do that? We're going to have a divisor. I-divide natin bawat isa. And what will be the divisor? So let's say for year 5, okay, may 5 ba tayo? For project C, no? Year 5, we will compute for the present value. Ang gagawin natin divisor, yung present value factor of an annuity of 1. So magkano to? How much is the present value of an annuity of 1 peso? Yan. So 1. Magkano siya ngayon? Okay? So ganun din, guys, kay A. Kay A naman magiging 6 years. Okay, kay D magiging 8 years. Okay? Right, since pare-parehong 1 yung annuity na yan, ang pinakamataas na ano diyan, na present value of an annuity of 1, of course, will be D, no? Kasi 8 years siya. Next will be A, and then followed by C, and then followed by B. Si B ang pinakamaliit na present value interest factor of an annuity of 1. So let's compute for that, guys. Is equal to, di ba, PV yan, no? Negative ko lang para positive yung makuha natin answer. Okay, our rate is nasa taas, comma. Ano yung N per natin? Yung N per natin, guys, magkakaiba, no? Dito, ang N per natin dito, 6. Kasi from 1 to 6 yan, ano? Dito naman, 4. Dito naman, 5. Dito, 8. Kung kailan, guys, yung cash flows natin, yung annuity, 5, 4, 6. Yun ang period natin, no? Okay, ano yung period nito? There has to be one formula, guys, para makopy natin to the right. Okay, let me just share it with you for in the interest of time. We can use the count A function. So yung count A function, guys, counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. Ang bibilangin niya yung hindi empty. So I'm going to highlight this, parang yung kanina. Okay? Para makopy natin to do the right, para this formula will be okay also for project D. Okay? So ang bibilangin lang dito ni Excel yung mga may laman. So 6 to. Okay? So that will be our N per. Okay, PMT wala kasi hindi naman PMT dapat to. Okay, sorry. Sorry, PMT pala to, guys. Annuity of 1. Okay, na medyo nalito ko dun. PMT of 1. Okay, no future value, and then annuity ordinary. So we can use this formula. Okay, take note, guys, that this will be variable yung count A. Ngayon, ano siya? 6 siya ngayon, no? Pag kinapin natin to the right yan, it will now depend on ilan yung non-empty cells dito. So let's compute for this. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned a while ago, mas mataas talaga yung yung present value of an interest of an annuity of 1 ni D. Kasi mas maraming years siya. Pare-pareho naman yung 1 yung cash flow nila. No? All right, then we have now the annualized present value. This divided by the present value factor. Okay. Now, it turns out, guys, that in terms of annualized NPV, si Project B ang pinakamaganda. Project B is better than even Project D based on an annualized NPV. Okay, so that's one way by which we can decide kung magkakaiba yung terms ng project, kung ano ba yung pinaka financially sound way of determining which project is better. Okay, pa-chat naman, guys, please, kung so far okay tayo dito sa unequal lives. Are we okay with the unequal lives, guys? Any questions? Any clarifications? Please feel free to chat. Okay, good. Salamat. Thank you. Are there any questions about this? Nakuha niyo ba yung mga formulas? Do I need to show a formula here? No questions? Sige, tuloy natin. No? Ito. The last that we'll be able to cover now is this one. Ito, guys, ang gagawin ko dito, i-record ko na lang ulit to, ha? Please. We will not be able to discuss this anymore, but sa recording, guys, ipopost ko yung recording para masundan nito. Para maging asynchronous yung discussion nito. Okay, kasi wala na tayong time, so quiz nyo sa Thursday, and then i-cover natin lahat ng mga remaining lessons next week. No? Okay, so let's go here, multiple IRRs. Okay, ilipat nga natin to dito, guys, yung increment of 2, ilipat na lang natin dito sa taas. Dito na lang. Okay. Increment of 2%. Okay. All right. Now, we have a scenario here. Take a look at the cash flow. Now, medyo unique yung cash flow na to kasi meron tayong outflow dito, tapos meron pa tayong outflow later on. Okay, the outflow can be midterm or it can be anywhere here dito sa dulo nung nagka-outflow ulit tayo. So ito, mga unusual na to, guys, cash flows. And then because of this, there might be a possibility, and it's a big possibility, that you will have 2 IRRs. Okay? So that's the case, guys. Kailan nangyayari yung multiple IRRs? Minsan 3. May nakita na akong 3, but wala pa akong nakikita na more than 3. Usually it's 2 or 3. But usually it's 2. You will have multiple internal rate of return if meron tayong negative cash flow aside from the initial. Okay. All right. So how do we go about this? Okay, we have 8 minutes, 9 minutes equal to IRR. IRR natin, straightforward lang naman, di ba? IRR, okay? So the first IRR is 3.91%. Now, how do we get the second one? Okay, it's equal to IRR. Then ganun din. Okay, so comma, this is where the guess will now come in. Okay, so yung unang IRR, yung pinakamaliit, 3.91, hindi natin alam kung ilan yung susunod. So we will guess, no? We will guess. Kunyari, yung susunod ba is, guess natin 10% ba? Okay, let's see if this is correct. Okay, hindi pa rin, hindi. Ibig sabihin, hindi umabot na, kulang pa to. Kulang pa yung guess natin. So let's see, 15% ba? Okay, now when we guess it's 15%, nag-generate na si IRR. No? It has something to do with how this is computed. So parang trial and error lang yan. Maglagay lang tayo ng increase, ng increments. Tapos ibibigyan na niya sa atin yung kung ano yung next na IRR. So apparently guys, this cash flow has 2 IRRs. No? Dalawa. Okay? So what we're going to do is magko-compute tayo ng NPV, no? Ko-compute natin NPV using this 2 IRRs. So maglagay muna tayo guys ng increments ng from 0% hanggang let's make it up to 50, no? So you know how to do this guys? Dito pababa dito. Let's see, home, field, series, columns, increments of 2% hanggang 50%. Okay, so there. Okay. And then guys, gawin natin, hanapin natin yung and before that, insert natin 3.91 at saka 30.28. 3.91 is between 2% and 4%. So let's move this down. Move this down, and then I'm going to link the 3.91% here. Okay. Lagyan ko lang siya ng color para kita natin. Yan, 3.91, no? Yung IRR natin. Then the other one is put a space between 30 and 32. Okay, and then link this 30.28. Copy ko lang yung format nito. Format there. Okay, so we have created here a series of possible WACCs. Ito yung mga WACCs, kunyari, weighted average cost of capital. Sorry, hindi. Ito yung mga, yung mga WACCs, tapos papahanapin natin NPV. So it's equal to NPV. Our rate is 0%, comma. Our values will start with year 1. Okay, and then plus this one. Now, since we're going to copy this going down, so si C4 to C8, okay, dapat i-fix natin to, pero yung row lang i-fix natin. Pati si C3 yung row lang. Okay, no need to fix the column because we're going to copy the formula pababa. Hindi naman nagbabago yung column position natin. So, Control Enter. Okay. So flash ko muna. I'll give you a few seconds to look at our formula. All right. So the net present value, if the WACC is 0%, is negative 10. Okay, so let's copy the formula down. All right. So these are the net present values, guys. Okay, you notice, guys, that remember yung 3.91, you have the net present value equal to 0 there. Okay. So if the weighted average cost of capital is From 3.91 hanggang 30.28. Okay? Ito, ibig sabihin nito guys, mga positive yung mga values natin dito, no? So greater than 3.91 and less than 30.28, okay yung project natin. Okay? But if it's if the WACC is less than 3.91 or greater than 30.28, then hindi acceptable yung projects natin kasi negative na yung mga net present values natin. So this is easier shown via, ilagay natin dito, lagay ko na dito guys, WACC. Tanggalin ko na itong cost rule. Okay, then let's plot this. Plot natin to. Insert. Okay. Then let me choose this. Insert scatter plot there. Okay. Let's take a look, guys, at our NPV IRR plot. Okay. On the x-axis, yung una dito, that this will be the x-axis, no? Pag nagpa-plot tayo sa Excel yung una, lagi dapat siya yung x-axis. So ang x-axis natin dito, guys, are is our WACC, no? Tapos sa y-axis natin si NPV. Now take note ito, di ba? Sandali. Tanggalin nga natin yung ano. Sige, okay lang. Notice, guys, na it touches the x-axis 2 times. Ibig sabihin nun, guys, if it touches the x-axis, the NPV is 0. So ito, tingnan nyo. Yan, nakikita nyo yung point na yan. Series NPV 0.3.91%. Okay? 0 yung NPV dyan. No? And dito din sa 30.28, there. 0 yung NPV, as you can see. Okay. 0 NPV, 0 NPV. Okay, so this is our, unlike an investment profile na iisa lang yung IRR, pag iisa lang yung IRR, guys, ibig sabihin nun, ang plot natin will only touch the x-axis once. So dito, it is in this region, okay, sa region na to, let's see if I can write here. Okay, in this region, guys, ito. What can we say about this region? Sa region na to, guys, ito, no? Yan. Tingnan nyo, yan. What do we have there? Diba? Itong region na to is where your NPVs are positive. Ito, di ba? Ito yung mga NPVs natin. Dito, indifferent tayo, no? Dun sa IRR natin here. We are indifferent whether to pursue the project or not. But greater than 30.28, ano nakikita natin? So, negative NPVs to. Negative NPVs. So ito yung rejection region natin. Reject project to. Reject. Ito, dito sa region na to, acceptance to. Acceptance region. Okay? Kasi dito sa region na to, the NPVs are positive. Dito din, guys, rejection region to. Okay. So that's what we can see, guys, dito sa ano natin, sa multiple IRRs. And it only happens when you have cash flows, negative cash flow, aside from the initial investment. Okay? So that's how we analyze this type of project na may negative dito. So our conclusion here is that ang IRR natin dalawa. So in between these two IRRs from 3.91 to 30.28, acceptable yung If the WACC is in between these two, then okay tayo. No? Okay yung ano natin, okay yung project natin. Otherwise, guys, reject tayo. Okay? So, it's already time, guys. Is that clear? Clear ba tayo? Paki-chat naman please kung if you learned something today or clear ba? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Now, as I said, guys, itong last, interesting din itong crossover, no? Parang ganito din yan, parang multiple IRRs din. I'm going to record this, okay? And then post it sa modules natin. And then pakinood na lang, no? Kasi asynchronous na lang to. Actually, guys, hindi to dinidiscuss ng ibang sections, no? Ano sa atin to? I mean, sections not under me. These are additional materials which I know will help you later on. Pag dumating na kayo ng college, makakatulong to sa, if you do business, may subject kayo na financial management, makakatulong to. Okay, yes, Christian?
Hello, sir.
Christian, before you ask your question, okay, guys, you may go. Unless you have questions or yung papa-check na attendance, I'm going to entertain questions in case you have questions. The rest of you, thank you so much. Have a nice day, guys. Please ingat tayong lahat, no? Okay, thank you. Yes, Christian, ano yung question mo?
Sir, can we request an announcement po, sir, about the deadlines ng quizzes and submissions po? Like the dates po.
Yeah, sige. I-announce ko, no?
Thank you so much po.
Okay, sige. Thank you,
Bali,
Christian.
sir, yung quiz to, sir, is this Thursday po.
Oo, quiz to natin
Okay.
this Thursday,
Okay
yung
po, sir.
deadline ng paper, yung paper 1 sa Friday. Yung sa paper 2, iniisip ko pa kasi I'm thinking of
Okay, sir.
making it, kasi ano lang naman yun, time value of money problems, tapos group din
Okay
kayo.
po.
So,
And sir,
iniisip ko na
yung-
parang pang-finals
Okay po.
na lang siya.
Okay po. Yung paper 1, sir, next Friday po.
Next Friday, oo.
Okay po, sir.
Okay,
Thank you so
Christian?
much.
Thank
And
you,
then last na,
Christian.
sir.
Oo,
Quiz
sige.
3, sir. Quiz 3.
Sorry?
Quiz 3 po, sir.
Chris? Sorry,
Quiz
sorry?
3 po. Quiz 3, sir.
Ang nickname?
3. Quiz 3, sir. Quiz 3.
Quiz 3. Sorry. Ang pagkarinig ko, Chris. Akala ko Chris 3. I thought you were correcting my, I thought you were correcting my, your
Sorry,
nickname.
sir.
Quiz 3 pala.
Oh.
Yeah. Yung quiz 3, malamang yan, ano na lang, yung take home, no? Quiz 3.
Okay po, sir.
Asynchronous.
Okay po.
Okay, thank you, Christian.
All clear, sir.
Okay, all
Thank you
clear?
po.
Sige, salamat. Sinong papacheck na attendance?
Hello, sir.
Yes?
A question lang po ulit, sir.
Yeah, sure.
What do you see po ulit yung mga instructions for the financial ratio analysis po, yung dalawang companies?
Yung outline natin nasa G drive natin yung instructions on the deadline, sige, I'll post an announcement, Roy. Sige.
Sige po, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you.
Bye po, sir.
Bye-bye. Magpapacheck na attendance, meron ba? Wala. Okay, sige.